Hello and welcome to today's video. Now you join us on the fantastic Combley lakes on the Isle of Wight. Now what is our aim for today? Well, two things really. The first of which is to run through the NX Baits range, so we're going to be looking at the dips, the boilies, how we prep our bait before the session, and also we'd like you to join us in session and see how we get on today. So Combley Lakes then, the good thing about Combley Lakes is it has some stunning old dark fish in there. There's two lakes here. We're going to be fishing the smaller of the two, and this, in my opinion, probably the trickier of the two, but the rewards are there. So sit back, relax, and let's see how we get on. Cheers. Cheers, buddy. Oh. So how do you think today went?
It's a tricky water, mate. It's a tricky water. We've really had some tough conditions. It's very warm. The fish, to our knowledge, haven't spawned yet. It's tough. I fished this place before for 4 days when it was very, very hot, and we struggled then. But with that in mind, we've got some cooler evenings, and I think you know, our baits are in the right places. You know, we have chopped and changed. To the people who don't know much about Combley, it's very shelf lined around the pond. It does sort of 3, 4, 5 foot, drops down to 10 foot, and we've done the right things. We brought the baits up on the shelves during the daytime. We fished them down the bottom of the shelves at night time, and with 3 rods each, we have one on the top and one on the bottom. Unfortunately, so far we've not picked anything up. We've seen a few fish, so which is confidence.
Definitely. I think, you know, obviously for the people at home, we've seen fish cruising around, and obviously zigs are banned on the water. But you know, confident in the bait. As Mark says, we've chopped and changed. We've looked at a variety of spots. We've been working hard all day, refining our tactics, trying to find the winning method, as it were. But yeah, really confident in the bait, the crab and the cray that we've got with us today, and the Scopex Peach.
Well, this is the first time I've used the Scopex Peach.
What do you think?
Admit,
you like it?
Yeah. I mean, I was very confident with the crab and cray, and I must admit, when you brought the bag around and opened it up, and I was like, I like that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's I shall be seeing Simon and certainly getting some of that in my freezer as soon as possible. Very nice smelling bait.
So, plan for tomorrow. What we're going to do differently tomorrow, or are we going to keep to our guns?
With you, mate, I think you have to stick by your guns. I think we're not doing anything wrong. I've fished here previously. I've done a couple of sessions before, and I have caught in both of those sessions. And I'm doing nothing. We're doing nothing different to what I've done on sessions before. We can chop and change rigs, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Different rigs, sort of how to present in the conditions, etc. But I think in the meantime, like you say, we just persevere with what we're doing.
I think you're right. I think, you know, it's easy to lose your head a little bit and
absolutely,
and just go completely off piste and change your tactics altogether. What we've done is kind of kept to the same tactics, but utilising different parts of the lake, you know, different parts of the shelf, depending on the time of day, the heat, what we're seeing the fish do. So yeah, essentially in terms of tactics. Then, as I spoke about earlier, I'll be using a lot more of the crumbed up bait with lots of liquid, and I think, Mark, you're doing some chopping the boilies up, and you're priming a few spots. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been around the pond and I've trickled a little bit of bait in here and there, and I'm keeping an eye on that. But like to say, we all like to come out and catch. We think, oh, we're going to come away, we're going to catch. This is a tricky little water. The fish here, they're pressured 365 days of the year.
I do find that with smaller lakes,
fish there's people fishing here every single week. They've seen everything, you know. So we've just got to be one step ahead.
Well, that's it. I think most importantly, for the viewers at home, really, is that, you know, having caught so well on crab and cray, and you know, also catching on the Scopex and Peach for myself, and I know Mark's obviously new to using that one. But yeah, having confidence in your bait is everything. So we know we don't need to change that element. That's an element that stays the same. It's just tactics. So we know that the tactics we're using has worked for us before. So again, tactics, bait, absolutely happy with.
And confidence.
You know, that's it.
And confidence.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
It's a beautiful evening. It can rattle off at any time. You know, everything's in the right place.
That's it. It's like when you go on a French holiday. It's not losing your head.
No.
If the tactics,
because people can do that. People can start going, oh my God, I've got to try something different. I've got to.
Stick
with what you know. You know, yes, you do need to chop and change sometimes, and things do need to happen. But use your experience.
That's it.
Have a bit of patience. Hopefully by tomorrow morning,
one of those big stunning
big scalies. So,
that'll be brilliant.
They're certainly in here. There's some beautiful fish in here.
Here's to tomorrow. Cheers, buddy.
Thank you, mate. So a little bit more time to go yet. So not disheartened.
Absolutely,
it could easily happen. So.
Yeah, let's see what happens through the night and early hours of the morning. So fingers crossed. Yeah. Okay, so we're now going to have a quick look at the baits that we do in the range. So the key ones are the crab and cray, you've got the Scopex Peach, you've got the Marathon, and you've got the sausage. So the spicy sausage is a stunning bait, and again similar to the base mix in the crab and cray, but some different attractors and slightly different profile. So basically the spicy sausage is kind of like a dark brown bait, very pungent smelling, really strong flavour there, and again if you're fishing weedy venues, silty venues, that'd be a fantastic bait for you. Moving on from that, we have the Marathon. Now the Marathon is kind of a whitish, off-white kind of colour I guess, but it's got little chunks of peanut in there as well, so again you've got that crunch factor as well for the carp, so another good bait. The next bait is this one here, so I don't know how well you can see that, but basically these baits here are the Scopex Peach, and they smell absolutely divine. Now these baits are a fantastic all year round bait, very palatable to the fish. I've done ever so well on these, and again really popular with the field testing team. The wives and the girlfriends and the partners just don't worry about the smell, they love it. So it's always nice to not have a partner moaning about the smell, because these smell absolutely fantastic. So again you've got that kind of off-white kind of colour, and yeah, I keep saying it, but until you smell it, it's utterly amazing, and yeah, a fantastic bait. The next bait is the crab and cray. Now the crab and cray is probably my favourite, I'd say, and the reason being is a lot of the waters I fish, you get a lot of wildlife in terms of birds and everything else on the water, a lot of swans, a lot of moorhens diving on baits. So for me, having a darker bait is really key, and this is where the crab and cray comes in. So it's got basically its base mix is a fish meal. It's got lots and lots of attractors and a variety of different makeups to the bait that give it such a strong profile. Very pungent again, and if you've got problems with wildlife, the fish is still going to be able to find it nice and easily, but that darker sort of browny sort of colour allows it to blend into the bottom, and the fish find it easy enough, but of course the bird life find it a bit harder to find. In terms of the pop-ups and wafters, so I think we got the wafters for the peaches, sorry, the Scopex Peach and the crab and cray here. So again, you can have variety of colours, match the hatch, or some yellow or off colour white for the crab and cray, and then again with the pop-ups, what we've got here is we've got the crab and cray, and again you've got that sort of browny, sort of almost robin reddy, oh, smells lovely, kind of tinge to it, so almost like a dark brown, slightly red hue to the baits. I don't know how well you can see those, but again I'll show you a quick clip now to give you a better idea of what the bottom baits will look like, and of course the match the hatch pop-ups and wafters. Now we also do in the range the dips, so what we've got here is the 500ml dip bottles, so this is the Scopex Peach, and we've got the crab and cray here as well with us for this session, so we have them for all of the various baits that we do. So in the intro video I spoke about the prep side of things. What do I do with the baits to get them ready for a session? So it depends on the lake. If I'm fishing my syndicate, which can be incredibly tricky, what I will tend to do is I will soak the baits for 48 hours, really soak them. I want them lovely palatable and soft. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll drain the water off, get my hands in, and I'll mulch it all up. Okay, I don't want it all perfectly through griddles and everything. I want lots of different baits. And then what I'll typically do is I'll use a barrel. We do barrels as well, and I'll trim them down into a bit of an odd shape. So we do barrel wafters and everything else. And then what I'll do is I'll tip that with a tiny slither, tiny slither of yellow foam, because sometimes I'll put the odd bit of sweet corn in there as well. Once I've mulched it up, I've added, and I'm talking about 30 grains of corn, a tiny amount, just a tiny little bit, a speck of colour there. Okay, what I'll do after that is I'll then add some of the liquids. So again, most of the time I fish crab and cray because of the waters with the wildlife. I'll then douse it in this liquid, so as it's drying out it will then be absorbing more liquid into the bait. So I give it a while to dry out, and then I'll add the liquid, so again it sucks it back in. So yeah, so basically give it a soak, drain off the water, give it, I don't know, probably half a day, something like that. Then I'll add the liquids, and yeah, what I'll do from there is just add a little bit of hemp to it. And my spots are fairly small spots in holes in the weed, so I can be quite accurate with the spod when I'm dropping it in there. And I want something fairly heavy to get to the bottom, so you know, when I mulch it up I don't want it to be too tiny and everything else. But also the great thing about the crab and cray is it creates a beautiful cloud as you're crunching all the baits up and they're all liquidized and everything else. So yeah, it looks really good for that. Now Mark does a few things differently. What he does with his baits is that Mark will essentially get, I think he's fishing crab and cray as well. I think he's actually fishing the mix, but what he'll do is add boiling water to the baits, and he'll leave them in the boiling water to get a lot softer. And then what he'll do on top of that is he'll get some various powders to coat the boilies, basically GLM, and what it does is as it cools down it sticks. So rather than putting it over the baits and then catapult them out, throw and stick, whatever you're doing, and they hit the water and you lose all the powder, these congeal to it, and he leaves them on there for quite some time, so it congeals and hardens, and then over time it will not only get to the bottom of the lake, but over time it will seep off not only the goodness from the boilies, but you'll also get that outer sort of shell of beautiful flavours and everything else. So it's a double win really. So it's a really good method he uses. Now back to the session. So this is the first day, and yeah, so Mark is fishing behind me. He's fishing very, very tight. He's done some great casting, really, really tight to the opposite side of the bank. So we've got basically reeds going all the way around, and he's fishing super tight. I've come back a little bit, and the reason for that is a lot of people use bait boats on here, and they're very precise with the way they drop the bait. They go literally up to the reeds and drop them. So I've come back about 2 rod lengths, and what I found is I've gone from a quite uniform clean bottom to finding, I don't think it's a gravel seam or anything like that, it's a tiny little bit of gravel, and then it goes smooth again. So just on that point where it changes over. And actually when I reeled in earlier, there was on the Kamakura hook I was using, there was a single bloodworm, which I'll show you the video of now. Now that's an amazing sign for anyone, but it's making sure you get back on that spot. So I clipped up all 3 rods, I put 2 on that spot where the bloodworm bed is, and 1 just off of it. Now I'm fishing on this session, I've got crab and cray on the outside rod, and the 2 inner rods I've got the Scopex Peach. So again, the wildlife really isn't bad here at all. The Scopex Peach is a lovely washed out effect to it, so I thought I'd give that a go on there. So fingers crossed, let's see how we get on. And I'll come back to you a little bit later on. I've got limited rig components, so I can just make it really quickly. So hook of choice is the Kamakuras, size 6. The fluorocarbon I use is the IQ2 original in £20. All you need after that is some super floss and just some scissors to cut. So first things first, I've taken off around 10 inches or so fluorocarbon, and leaving a big tag end here, I'm going to start whipping down the shank of the hook. But before I do that, the key here is to take this loop, this little bit of line here, and go back through the eye. Okay, so oops, difficult to do when you're trying to look for a camera, make sure it's in focus as well. Okay, oops. Okay, it looks a bit ungainly at this point, but stay with me. Right, so now we should have something that looks like this. Okay, now making sure it's square, you then want to start wrapping around the eye of the hook that isn't the joined side. So in this instance I need to go around this way. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and then go back again through the eye. And the good thing about these hooks is they've got massive eyes, so it's very easy to get it through. Give it a wet and pull it down tight. And then what you need to do now at this point is just shimmy it over so that that is perfectly on the back. So it should look like that at this point. All you're going to do is just tease down this other end of line here just a little bit to about here. Okay, so it should look like that. Okay, and then with your thumb, just when it's got up a bit, just push that back a little bit so it sits up a bit like that. Okay, so next thing we do is just going to cut and blob that tag end. So cut that just here. And then what we can do, I forgot to say you will need a lighter. So I'm just going to, there it is. Oops. Just going to burn this down quickly. Away from here a second, keep looking at the camera. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so at this stage it looks like this. Okay, so basically that is how it's going to look. So next thing we're going to do is on the end of the line we're just going to tie a perfection loop knot. So a lot of people, and touch the left rod, a lot of people ask me about how to tie this, and it's very, very straightforward. So make a loop like this. Okay, the next thing you want to do from there is you want to make another loop. So pull a bit of line and make another loop round the back. So all I'm doing essentially is going round the back and trapping that bit. So this bit in my finger, so we go round and trap it under this finger. Okay, so now it looks like this. And then with this tag line here, just put it in between the two. Like that, okay? And trap it between your fingers here. Simply, I'm just going to pull this one and put it through there, okay? So, look like that. Just wet it. And then just being very careful with hook the other end. Oops. Pull on the tag end as you're pulling it down. A little touch, think it's the wind to be fair. So that's how it will look. Okay, and then all you're going to do is just trim it off. It is so hot here today. It's been a real struggle. The fish are up the top on the other end, and it looks to me like they're getting ready to spawn, to be honest. So it's been a very tough session, but we're going to keep at it and see what we can do. They haven't started spawning. I mean, they're just basically grouping up at this point in time. You just see sort of probably about a third of the lake's population down sort of a Mark's end. So hopefully you can pick one up. Right, so that's the rig. I'll show you in a bit more detail now. Okay, so let's attach a bait. Oops. Right. So we're going to put on a crab and cray wafter. So with the baits, when I put them on, what I like to do is just give them a little trim down. So I feed a lot of chops, so it just sits in line with what I'm feeding essentially. Getting there now. It's a bit of an odd shape, so just looks a bit safer to them. Just take this side off. Okay, so that's basically what we're left with there. Okay, so let's now attach it. Now you'll notice I didn't attach a ring swivel, and there's good reason for this. It's just another thing that basically A, don't need to buy, B, don't need to carry. I know they're tiny, they don't make any difference to the weight, but it's just another thing really. So I just like to try and keep things as absolutely simple as possible. So now I've got our rig here. I'm just going to simply thread it through this massive loop. So very similar in working principle to the D-rig. It's just kind of my take on it really. Nothing really anything super special, but it's just something that works for me, and I'll show you why in a second. So let's attach the buoy. So let's put that on there. Very difficult looking through the lens and then looking the buoy too. Let's pull that through there. And the good thing about this is if you leave enough gap effectively, so if I just give it that gap there, just lob this off. Oops. I'll get it in a second. And just going to blob this with a lighter. I'll just do it by there because of the wind. Okay. Now, what I really love about this rig is, first of all, as you can see, imagine these are the bits on the bottom of the lake, and with this rig and its ability to drop as soon as they're picking up the bait, it's going to drop into a prone position every time for that bottom lip, and it doesn't matter which side it is. As soon as they pick that up, it's going to be hovering above it, just drops down prone. So a fantastic rig, really simple. The only thing that I'd add here would be to steam it, and to be honest, you don't actually need to steam it either. I often don't take a kettle because I just stretch it, and then yeah, it'll be fine. Just put a little bit of putty in the centre there, but effectively that is the rig. Simplicity in itself. There you go, guys. Okay, so last night was our last night. We're leaving early this morning. As you can probably tell by me being in the water, as a team we've had one. Mark and I have worked so super hard this session. You know, we've been battling against fly hatches, super hot days, the fish really up in the water, but we've managed to winkle one out. Super happy with it. Hopefully you like it too. Thank you very much for watching the videos, and we'll leave links below in terms of where to get the baits and get them ordered, etc. So like I say, I hope you enjoyed the video, and catch up with you soon. Guys and girls, on that NX baits, come on. crab and crane mixture with the Scopex peach. Fantastic. Hope you enjoyed the video.